Agreed. Well, first tell me, before we talk about the globalism, which could be a step in the artilect war, is there anything we didn't talk about when it comes to the artilect war, when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to important concepts people need to understand? Because I would have never thought about this unless I met you.
I guess those of you studying physics, get into phys comp, understand the potential. If you're into religion, there's probably going to be a new, science-based religion coming. Cosmism seen as the religion.
Right.
Learn some astronomy. Trillion stars. Most of those stars out there are billions of years older than us. See the big picture. And life is probably very common everywhere. Bacterial life, simple life, is probably just virtually everywhere. Probably within a decade, we'll probably have an answer to the question, is there life elsewhere? Like NASA and so on, they're sending probes to Europa, the moon of Jupiter, because underneath is an ocean. And the thermal vents, supplying the heat, water, vents, energy, water, all the chemicals. So, within 10 years we may have the answer to that question. There is life elsewhere, and if it's happened twice in one solar system, then it's just everywhere. And then you ask, well, what are the odds that these single cell creatures eventually get into multi-cell, and hence plants and animals and human beings and Beethoven, right?
And then ChatGPT.
Plus, right? So This way of thinking, it's still very new, but I wouldn't be at all surprised 10 years from now. It'll just be part of the relatively educated person's general knowledge. That's my feeling.
I think you're right.
So educate. If you're a smart person, educate yourself, because I really believe this issue is going to dominate our global politics this century. And instead of having parties that are based on economics, like the Liberal Party and Conservatives, they're basically set up to answer economic questions.
Yeah.
But this century, it's the dominant issue is going to be species dominance. So you'll have like Terran parties and cosmos parties and cyborgist parties and so forth. As humanity splits in its ideology, which way? And broadly speaking, there's really just two ways. Build them, don't build them. That I see dominating our 21st century.
It's funny, I'm thinking to myself that the Federal Reserve in America just lowered interest rates by a quarter of a percent. And they did that basically in response to the fact that the unemployment rate, had gone up a couple tenths of a percent. And this is how they monitor the entire US, which means global economy. And I'm thinking to myself, when the AI reaches human level and beyond, they're going to be thinking about 40% unemployment levels and 80% unemployment levels. And I don't think we're even prepared for the shocks and the questions and the parties and the mayhem that will happen when we are fighting right now over tenths of a percent, and people are getting elected or not over these tiny little issues. We're complaining about inflation where things are at 4% higher when the fact there's no food is going to be a question.
And people ask me about this, whether the disruption that AI is going to cause as industry after industry. Like just recently, I think this past year, the travel industry, like AI's now come into advising people on where to go and prices, and it's having an impact already on a huge number of people employed in the travel industry, that kind of thing. Lower grade lawyers are being impacted now, and so on and so forth. So as AI keeps progressing and exponentially, industry after industry is going to be impacted. So people are asking, well, what's the long-term impact when there's such massive unemployment? And longer term, I'm not too worried. Because one of my interests is cultural anthropology. So, I read books about this, and the anthropologists, they're saying, well, somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 different cultures, depending how you define culture, on the planet. And some of them particularly in the sort of tropical areas, where you throw a seed and it just grows, right? Lunch is just climbing up a tree. They work maybe in their gardens and so on. They work maybe 2-3 hours a day.
Investment Club. Today, I consider it the best investment that I've ever made. We get 4 projects presented a week by their associated CEOs. Personally, I'm completely blown away by the quality of these projects, and I know of nowhere else where I would be given this same opportunity. Each week that passes, I feel more appreciative of the fact that I'm a member of this group. The vibe was just tremendous. Everybody's on the same wavelength. We just clicked. Everybody listened to each other, enjoyed their company. It was just magical, magical. Take action. Don't take my word for it. Due diligence you need to do. And I really hope that someday down the road I see you in the club. It far exceeded expectations, without question.
So, obvious question, well, what do they do with their time? Aren't they going crazy, bored, whatever? No, because they've had time to evolve. They're doing make-up rituals and religious ceremonies, and they're fine. They've adapted. So, obviously it's going to have to be a UBI, has to. Otherwise there'll be riots everywhere. So government, universal basic income,
which is fraught with potential disaster.
Well, people got to eat, right? So,
because they won't be able to produce for themselves, so they have to be provided by this now super efficient economy because of AI.
Exactly.
But that's not owned by them. That is owned by the corporations and the governments.
Right.
So there'll be a massive inequality. And now you're telling me that the people that don't have things are going to be provided for. Does that work out today?
Well, I do think the ultimate power is the people, right? If they get into their heads, they can just go berserk. I mean, I just spent 4 weeks in Paris, and qualité, fraternité. So,
yeah, but there's that famous line from the movie Wall Street where Gordon Gekko says, "You're not naive enough to think we're living in a democracy, are you?
Are you?
It's capitalism. It's the free market."
Well, I do have. If people are pissed off, we're getting onto Glober again. If everyone pretty well on the planet, especially if everyone's living in a democracy, if everyone can get the world's media, you'll get the opinions from all over, and they'll be clashing, some of them. So, I'm in my own life, living in Brussels, I became quadrilingual. English, because my native language. I picked up French and German, and because I was living in Brussels, it's a bilingual city, so I also picked up Dutch or Flemish. So it's quadrilingual. And in Brussels, it has a television cable, so you can zap cultures. British television, French television, German television, Italian television, Spanish television, and so on. Just like the way Americans can zap football channels, right? So this is an amazing experience. So one time there was a dispute, agricultural, I think, between the Germans and the French. So zap French channel, listen to the French news. Zap, get the German channel. Die scheiß Franzosen! And I get both points of view. And I say, the Germans, yeah, they're sort of right. And the French, yeah, but they're also sort of right. And so the truth's probably somewhere in the middle. So if you can get a world media from the world, and that in turn will lead to a global language, which will very probably be English, because English is already the world's most second spoken language in the world. Mandarin is the most spoken. So you'll get views from all over, and that will culturally homogenize people, I believe. And the fact that Moore's law in computer science, that's the number of chips you can cram onto the number of transistors you can cram onto a chip. It keeps doubling every year or so. So,
excuse me.
The internet speed is doubling every year. I call that phenomenon BRAD, B-R-A-D, bit rate annual doubling. So if that continues for decades, so in 30 years, that's 1 billion times faster internet. What could you do with such a thing? Well, then you could send three-dimensional images as vivid as as real as reality, as I see you, but it'd be an image. We're talking a little bit before. Recently, I had a demo of Apple's Vision Pro, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like basically 3-dimensional goggles, vivid. I mean, it's an emotional experience. So when you can travel the world like that, with Brad, as a consequence of Brad, so you get the world gets the world's media, and that will push towards the generation of a world language. And once you've got that, consequence of that, I see is a global, a homogenization of culture, cultural homogenization, because everyone's exposed to the same ideas planet-wide, and only the best ones survive.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.